Yo, 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 welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of Wos Speaks. Of course, I'm your host, Big Wos AKA Wosny Lambre. Big shout out to everybody live on YouTube. Big shout out to the Patreons, man, who support this show. Big shout out to everybody just listening on the podcast, man. Really appreciate you guys. We've been gone for a little while, man. Unfortunately, last week had some tragic family news. My dad passed away at the age of 81. Essentially what the hospital is calling natural causes. He had, he was dealing with some Parkinson's, dealing with a bunch of different stuff, and he succumbed to his ailments last Friday. Shouts to my dad, Wilker Lambre. Obviously super close to him. So we took the time and didn't do the show last week. For that, the family is doing good. I'm doing much, much better. Obviously, it stinks to lose a parent, but I'm blessed enough to have a lot of support in my family, people I grew up with, everybody holding me down. I'm back here in New York with family, friends, everybody that basically raised me, made me. People that I consider to be the closest people in my life are here, and so yeah, I'm straight. Just in case anybody was wondering, I'm good. But yeah, man, definitely rest in peace to my dad. I will miss him a lot. Anyway, just there's really only one thing dominating the news right now, and it's obviously this Trump and Epstein thing. And it's just so fascinating how, and I've said this already, and I will say it again, just the prolific nature of the news-making ability of the freaking Trump 2.0 administration. Like, Trump 1.0 is like this too, but this feels ratcheted up, dude. I mean, the Doge stuff, the big, beautiful bill, the bombing of Iran, the escalation in Ukraine with Russia, the Epstein stuff, the mass immigration, the calling of the national, guys, this shit is breakneck pace, the amount of news that comes out. And this one is just a little bit different because it feels completely manufactured in a way that's detrimental to the regime. What do I mean by that? The freaking having army dudes dressed in army fatigues on horseback running through Griffith Park in LA, that's manufactured too, but that's for effect. That's for the MAGA base being like, yo, we voted for mass immigration. Our guy means business. This, man, is just Trump putting out an edict to his subordinates like, yo, tell them the Epstein thing is done. For the reason of, I can only assume, is because Elon insinuated that he was in the quote-unquote Epstein files. And that's it. That's it. The guy basically hands down an edict that the Epstein thing is quote-unquote over. We're moving on and closing the case, and all hell breaks loose. And why is that? And it's because the Trump administration and the right-wing sort of media culture writ large has been dining out on this Epstein files shit for the better part of 6 years. And what do I mean by that? People in Trump's own administration, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, media people that he's got very close ties to, like Alex Jones, okay, like Candace Owens, like all of these right-wing media types. The culture, the media culture has been dining out on this Epstein thing as if it's like the be-all, end-all of elite depravity. And that it's this cabal of elites, mostly Democrats somehow, which is hilarious if you understand the nature of elites, that they would be mostly Democrats and not just people who own both parties. But whatever, I digress. Who are behaving badly, and not just behaving badly, doing the most, what I feel like is the most despicable crime possible. outside of outright murder, torturous murder, is sexual abuse of minors. Like, it doesn't, like, this is the worst human behavior possible. And they've ginned up all of this, excitement around this idea of this elite cabal of Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and, Alan Dershowitz and former Israeli prime ministers. And, bro, the list of people, it's beyond, okay, that were connected to this guy. And so these people got rich. These people built massive online followings based off of this Epstein stuff, as being emblematic of the rot within elite culture. That these guys, they're not only greedy, bad, horrible people, they're also in a sex ring in the trafficking of minors. And so this is just, look, I don't know anybody in the Trump administration. I read people who are well sourced and all of that stuff, but the best that I could glean is that the Elon stuff was really sticking in his craw when Elon was like, Trump is in the blah, 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 when they had their little fight. Oh, that was another thing, Trump and Elon fighting. And he wanted to go out and make a statement like, yo, it's time to move on. And it did everything but that, because specifically, like if you're an MSNBC wine mom and you were watching Joyanne Reid and Chris Hayes and Haynes, Chris Hayes, I always say Haynes, shouts to Haynes though, and Rachel Maddow, or you was obsessed with CNN, or you read the New York Times all the time, like, I'm sorry, these people were not stuck on this Epstein thing after a certain point. And we might say there's a reason for that. That isn't completely innocent in all of this, right? The people that were driving this story, that kept the fire underneath this story over the course of 6 freaking years, were these right-wing media types and the sort of comedy bro type of media figures, whether it be Schultz and Flagrant 2 or Rogan, or all of the people from that sort of segment of our media culture in 2025. And so it stands to reason that when freaking Kash Patel, again, this guy got famous from his podcast for talking about the Epstein files, talking about the first thing he would do if he was FBI director would be to unseal the files and blah, blah, blah. Damn, mind you, these people made their bread. They made fortunes off of this thing. And so for them guys to be not just be put in the administration, be put in the goddamn FBI, the law enforcement arm of the DOJ, the segment of the country that rearrested Epstein before he ends up hanging himself in lockup, allegedly. Like the guys that work on the national level for the DOJ and the FBI, its law enforcement arm, coming out and be like, there's nothing to see here, guys, and that this was just going to get swept under. It just makes no sense. I don't even know what to compare this to on the lib or left-wing side of this. Like, I can't even, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like, this was so central to the core beliefs of a segment. Not to say that, some 65-year-old upper middle class white lady in Alabama. No, she's Trump no matter what. She didn't vote for Trump because she thought he was gonna expose the rotten elites. She's a Republican. She's a dyed-in-the-wolf MAGA. No, we're not talking about her. But like Trump has a new coalition. It's not the same coalition from 2016, and a lot of these new people were fed this Epstein stuff for over 5 years straight, nonstop at a fever pitch. So when these guys come out and they're like, "Oh, there's nothing to see here, we're moving on," it's kind of insane. It's pretty ridiculous. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. And so Trump is now, he's just flailing. He's dissing his own followers. He's saying it's an Obama conspiracy. The Dems, this is nothing. This is just like Russiagate. This is blah, 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 blah. This is, this is more, left-wing craziness and blah, blah. But the problem for him is that there is some there. Unlike with Russiagate, which was kind of crackpot and ridiculous from the beginning, this is something different. And I look, let me just get this out in the open right now. I do not think that Israeli intelligence or the CIA, American intelligence, or some combination of the two were helping Epstein run a blackmail operation against American elites. Because that's another thing. When you go back and read the reports, when the FBI originally raided this guy's crib, they were like, "Bro, there's not just cameras in every room. There's hidden cameras in every room, including restrooms. A bunch of DVD hard drives that said such and such a prominent person's name plus young girl." Okay, like, so much shit this guy had in his crib. There's no doubt that this dude had crazy shit going on. And we'll get into some of that. Don't worry. Just to debrief you guys, because it's been so freaking long since the original Epstein shitstorm, which kind of happened in 2018 with the Miami Herald. I don't think that the CIA worked in cahoots or the Mossad worked in cahoots to blackmail a bunch of prominent people with fucked up sex stuff. What I'm willing to believe, though, is that he had connections within that world, and because of said connections, he could pursue his freaky ass ends uninhibited. Because he was so connected, because he had so many powerful people within his orbit, he felt freed up to pursue his most insane versions of his sexual predilections. And you might say, Wos, well, why is that important? I think we need to unseal the files, and I think we need to know exactly what investigations turned up on this guy, because I think the intelligence communities, whether it be the Israelis, if we find out that's who he's connected to, or us, need to explain why what we're getting from assets like freaking Epstein is so essential that we allow for him to fucking abuse young people sexually. Like, y'all gotta come out and actually defend this to the public. To me, that's why it's important. Like, I'm sorry, I can't get there. And people might say I'm naive. I don't think these guys, the CIA is running in conjunction with this guy, some sexual blackmail operation. But I do think that when they had him dead to rights down in Palm Beach, Florida in 2008 or 2007, or was it 2006? It took till 2008 for the plea deal and all of that to get finished. So, like, he gets arrested by local police in Palm Beach because they get a tip, a complaint to press charges from a 14-year-old and her parents that, yo, this guy named Jeffrey Epstein had me at his crib and he abused me. They investigate this dude. They figure out, like, bro, he's got young women, young kids in and out of his crib all the time. They come after this dude. Of course, Epstein being, like, mega rich, and we don't really got time to go into how, because we don't really even know how or why this guy got all the money that he did. We have some ideas people like Leon Black once gave this dude $150 million over the course of 7 years or something crazy like that. Wexler, the CEO and founder of Victoria's Secrets, gave this guy power of attorney over his entire estate, put him in charge of his foundation, gave him an $80 million mansion in Manhattan, all of this crazy stuff. We don't even understand the nature of this guy's wealth. However, he's rich as hell enough to where when he gets knocked by local Palm Beach PD or whatever the hell they were, he hires the most insanely expensive lawyers that are possible, Dershowitz and Ken Starr and all of these guys. Palm Beach and all of them, the local authorities is like, yo, this is fucking crazy. We're a local outfit. We don't have the resources to deal with somebody this papered up, but like this is fucked up nonetheless. They kick it up to DOJ. They kick it up to the feds. Like, yo, on a state level, like, bro, we can't handle this. The feds have unlimited resources. Y'all got to do this. All right, the feds do their investigation. They basically come to him like, bro, you know what we do. You've all heard of it. 95% conviction rate, blah, 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 blah. They're like, yo, we got you, son. Like, plead out, like, whatever. This motherfucker, while he's negotiating a plea, as they got him dead to rights, is allowed to go to Israel for 6 months while they're adjudicating this thing, the deal, and transfer all his assets to Israel while all of this stuff is happening. Like, bro, what? You're about to plead out on, bro, like child molestation abuse, and you're allowed to fly to Israel while this is happening? And of course, by the time they do the deal, he gets 18 months with a work release program inside of it, which means he has to sleep in that jail every night, but he gets 12 hours a day to do whatever the hell he wants. And this is after they get him dead to rights, when a maximum sentence would have had him in there for 25 years. Again, remember, guys, this is the feds. They don't bring the case to you. They don't bring the case to you unless they know. 95% conviction. You've all heard that number. That's why. They know they got you. So to go from we got you, we're the feds, we're bringing the charges, to, bro, you get 18 months work release, is crazy. Okay? And so, and the craziest part about all of this shit, he gets this sweetheart deal, continues living his life, has to register as a sex offender. Afterwards, he goes back to his life as nothing. He's hanging out with Bill Clinton. He's hanging out with Ehud Barak. He's hanging out with Bill Gates. He's hanging out with George Stephanopoulos. He's, bro, having dinners. Like, the game don't even stop after that. And he's a registered sex offender. Like, this is all facts. And the only reason this comes back to light is because the one girl started the complaint, they found other victims. The only reason the victims came back up to light is that there's this federal law on the books that the accusers of sexual abuse get to face down their attacker in court. They have that right no matter what. They get to go to a sentencing, et cetera, get to be a part of that situation. That law's on the books. I forget what it's called, but it's a federal law that's on the books. These motherfuckers did their deal in 2008 so shoddily and so under the table and secretively, they never allowed for that process to play out. So these victims sued to have their right. They sued in 2018 and won. This thing took 10 years to go through the court. They sued and won. And the judge is like, damn, y'all, you guys acted improperly when you gave this guy the deal in 2008. The Fed said this about themselves in 2018. So therefore, they're like, you guys did this improperly. You got to rearrest this fool. That's when they rearrest him. That's when he ends up killing himself in jail, right? Mind you, again, just to bring this back to Donald Trump, this is on the record. 2002. They said they had a falling out by the end of 2002, him and Epstein. But 2002, he's interviewed on the record. He's like, Epstein is my boy. I've been knowing him for like 15 years and change now. He literally said, it's my boy. That's my friend. You know what I'm saying? When they asked him about Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's girlfriend / madam / pimp / whatever, asked him about the trial while he was still president. Yo, I wish y'all the best. This is somebody who's accused of child sex trafficking, guys. Donald Trump wished her all the best. Obviously knows the chick. And so, yeah, like, there are probably all kinds of connections that any investigation would have been able to unearth. So that's not to say that everybody who's ever been connected with Epstein, that he was able to buy them some, sex workers or procure minors for them and all of that. But this guy was around a lot of powerful people. And how many of those people were ensnared in his wild ass sex life? His insanely gross ass sex life. And so Trump knows he's connected to this guy. He used to hang out with him. That was his boy, the Palm Beach crew. Like, y'all gotta understand this too. The community of elites is not huge. All these people know each other. They all winter in Palm Beach. They're all summering in the Hamptons. They're all going to the Cape or whatever, Martha's Vineyard, excuse me. They're all they're all doing the same shit. They all know each other. So yes, Trump knows he has this connection, but it's like, to me, it would have been enough to be like, yeah, that was my boy, but I stopped messing with him. And you seen, I stopped messing with him even before he caught the pedophilia joint. I didn't know what he was doing. Like, it would have been easy enough to do that, but I guess whatever is in those files, and by the way, what needs to be released? His financial records. We need to know why this dude had done 1.5 billion. And this is public record. I'm not making this up. When they unsealed it for the oversight committee in the Senate, 1.5 billion in bank transactions through this guy's accounts over I forget the years period, but it doesn't matter. Let's just call it 7. That's insane. Who is he transacting with? Who do these companies belong to? These shell companies, these offshore, all of that. Disclose that. The people that were on his tapes when they confiscated his stuff at his crib. We need to know about that. The financial disclosures, the people that he had videos of at his crib, the people that the victims accused, we need to know all of that. The public deserves to know what the evidence was. And here's the thing too. Like, this idea that this secret stuff can't be made public is bullshit. Like, I watch these true crime FBI shows all the time. Like, when they're explaining to you how Giuliani and the Justice Department and all of them, the 7th District of New York, took down the mob. And they explain to you, we wiretapped Fat Tony Salerno's clubhouse. We got into Paulie Castellano's crib where he was talking to his maid and he was smashing the maid and blah, blah, blah. We did, they literally give you step by step the evidence, how they procured it. Yeah, we had an electrician, fake electrician, blah, 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 rig up the little restaurant that they go to. Bro, they disclose, the feds disclose their evidence gathering tactics and what they got on people, what they were able to attain all the time. They do this whenever they want to shine their own whistle. When they want to show off and show how big dog they are. Like, yo, look at what we did here. Bruh, what did y'all dig up in that original investigation? What did y'all dig up when y'all went to his crib in in 2018 or whenever it was, 2019, whenever it was, what the U.S. Virgin Islands sued them, unsealed those documents, let the public know. And the reason why, the more that they don't bring this out, is the more that I feel like this guy was one of the intelligence agency's assets. Like all of this kicking and screaming that they're doing. Like, I get it. People think that because Trump is personally involved, I'm sure that's true. But why didn't Biden put it out? It can't just be because Bill Clinton was down with something. Bill Clinton, who's 90 years old and is no longer useful to the party. And why can't he get thrown under the bus at age 90? I'm like, it can't be because of that. Like, to me, it's got to be because if it comes out that, I mean, God forbid it's Israel. Oh, my God. The PR beating these guys have been taking, like, if it comes out that, like, yo, these guys, not only that, but, like, they will have assets who are hurting children and look the other way, if not actively participate. Again, I'm not one who goes with that theory, but there are people who are. Boy, that is one thing to, like, what is so important about the intelligence that this guy's gathering and providing for you, that it means that kids become collateral damage. And some people might say, as evidenced by the war, the siege, the genocide in Gaza, these people don't care about kids. So that might be in lockstep with their freaking government's policies, right? Meaning, when it comes to achieving their goals, non-Jewish kids don't mean a damn thing to them. Or, excuse me, non-Israeli kids. I should get that right. Excuse me. Because they will crack some skulls of some Jewish anti-Zionists. Yeah. Like, and I think, like, to me, it's really that simple. Like, the public deserves the transparency of, like, who is this dude? What was he involved in? But if I had to bet, man, I don't think that they're gonna do some small disclosure. Pam Bondi and Trump are already saying they're gonna unseal the grand jury, whatever. But, like, we need to know what this guy's financial history was. This guy, no tax returns, y'all. Like, this guy never filled out a tax return. He never had no real job. How's he owning islands with a Z, plural? He owned islands. The crazy estate in New Mexico, the situation in Palm Beach, the freaking $60 million townhouse in New York, which at the time was the biggest freaking piece of the biggest crib you could buy in all of Manhattan, y'all. Like, we need to know those financial disclosures, and we need to know, basically what they scooped up at the crib. Again, I'm not of the conspiracy. I read, and again, people can call me naive. People can be like, oh, you don't believe the CIA was trafficking kids. I don't. I really don't. I think when you're down with the CIA, when you're down with the Israeli Mossad, you get a longer rope to do things. You're not held to the same standards in terms of law and order as us, because you are in possession of secrets. And whenever you are made to be held accountable for some of the crazy shit you might be doing, they know that you have the ability to divulge secrets. So they would much rather the secrets stay hidden than stop whatever crazy shit you might be doing. But that, to me, seems more plausible than the CIA coordinating with a guy, or even Israeli Mossad coordinating with a guy to provide young people to sexually abuse. I think this dude had a sick and perverse sex life, many of it grossly illegal, and was allowed to carry on. Folks looked the other way because of his connections and his usefulness in other sectors. That's my opinion. Again, I get it. There are people out there, and I wouldn't even say it's like wholly like, oh, discredited, whatever. I would say there's been no proof to that effect. But to me, what would make the most sense is that you get the most rope when you are an intelligence asset. And in fact, you could Google, the CIA has done this before. BuzzFeed did an article about the CIA and having agents or assets that were sexually abusing young people, and CIA looking the other way. This is like, guys, we can be adults about this. But yeah, I think Trump has a problem on his hands. And I know that like the most biggest diehard people are going to fall in line, but I think the sort of media ecosystem that considered Trump to be this outsider that would put the elites in their place, and the fact that he's basically like not a status quo and cool. And not only that, but like there's nothing here. There's nothing to say. Not only like, am I not investigating? It's like, no, guys, like there's nothing to see here. Nothing happened. I know people in my own administration have suggested this for 6 years. There's nothing there. Pam Bondi said she got the Epstein files on her desk. There are no files. There are no kids that got there was no there was no blackmail. There was no blah, blah, blah. Of course, Ghislaine Maxwell is like, she's now suing and is just like, well, why am I in jail if nothing happened? Which, I mean, she's got a point. If nobody was trafficked, then why is she in prison? And so, yeah, but I think this will continue to be a problem for them. I don't know how they wiggle out of this. I think honestly, doing some level of disclosure, minimal as it is, will mollify and pacify a majority of the Republican base. But I think for a lot of these independent people who don't identify with a party, aren't like dyed-in-the-wool MAGA people, I think they're going to look at this as a betrayal. I really do. And it's not just cope on my part as like an anti-Trump person. I think people are going to look at this as like, bro, you promised this shit to us, and now you're not delivering. Anyway, that's our show for today. I want to give a big shout out to my guy, John Gervais, super producer on the ones and threes, keeping the trains running on time. Make sure you become a Patreon at patreon.com/Count the Ding to support the incredible content that we're making for you guys. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.